What happened to facts don't care about your feelings? The tumbler with drinking literal tears. Next, we will discuss the downfall of Ben Shapiro. What happened to that guy? Next on the conservative road. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And today I want to speak about a Ben Shapiro. For all the talk about all the conservative civil war that is out there, all the infighting that's happening, and people, it's easy to blame Candace Owens. And I know part of the nonsense and buffoonery that she's engaging in is at large responsible for all this. But I'm not going to sit here and just blame her. I feel that Ben Shapiro bears a lot of blame to this. And this particular clip that I'm going to share with you really speaks volume to me, and part of why I fell out with the Daily Wire. Not fell out directly, but why I decided to stop watching a lot of their content, and Ben Shapiro's in particular. But I'll let you take a look and I'll react.
In our industry have a stake in selling that. It makes people feel good about themselves and bad about the world. And the reality is, if you want a better life, you should feel better about the world and worse about yourself. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up.
So as you saw in this clip, it's a very short clip, but it spoke volumes. And this scumbag, for lack of a better term, says you don't have the right to grow up, to live where you grew up. And that's a small statement, but there's a lot to unpack there. And this hit me on a personal level because I do not live where I grew up. And for those exact reasons, I am a Miamian, and I don't live in Miami because of the economic circumstances that we face. Rent and cost of living, the pay, so many things are just skyrocketing in Miami for so many reasons. And that's not the topic of the podcast, but it has a lot to do with some of how I feel, had just become flat out establishment. And I guess he's trying to, imply, if you watch almost the whole interview, that you're like a fucking commie if you want to grow up where your grandparents are buried and what is natural to you your whole life. Like, if you want that, you don't deserve that. Like, you got to do better for yourself. And I understand, I'm not saying that you're asking for a handout, that we want rent controls, that we want some sort of socialist approach to fixing cities, which are not going to fix them. They're just going to make them terribly worse, I might add. But he to say that to the American public, you don't have the right to live where you grow up. You're not with it, man. You're not with it. You're just not with it. Yes, you should have the right to live where you grow up. Absolutely, you should. Why not? Because BlackRock has decided to buy up a lot of rental property, and that's not the only reason. So you should live wherever BlackRock tells you to live. People like that are the ones that sell us out and then say these remarks and say these things, like another one that he said, that nobody in the United States should be retiring at 65. Well, motherfucker, not everybody can talk for a living. Some people have to go out there and do hard fucking work, and their bodies beat up and shredded, and don't have the luxury to just work till the day they die. Their body's just giving out on them. And all the taxpayers, all the money they spend in paying taxes that benefit your beloved Israel, you don't seem to mind those people working to do that. And his Israel first stance is something I'm going to get into in a minute. But those two statements are the biggest reasons why I feel he's losing a lot of people. To say such a stupid thing like that. people who grew up in cities that know they're there, and he was referring to the people in New York City and Mondami. But this holds true to a lot of major cities that they have imploded a big influx of immigrants, and blue cities that has essentially disseminated the middle class, and people have went running and have made life more difficult for us in red states, and we have to just leave our homes. Like essentially creating an economic migration in the country. And for this scumbag to say that he's made a lot of his money talking for a living, and the very people that he's shunning out are the same very people that have tuned in for years after years, myself included, for him to say such a stupid thing like that. And that to me, in my view, feels like, he's bought and paid for by Israel. And he's getting his money, and he flat out doesn't care. He's part of statements like that are what the communists use to deceive people to go in that direction. If you're wondering why all these younger kids are so high on socialism, shit like that is what gets people to say, you know what? These socialists have a point. Assholes like that. Like the audacity to say something like that you don't deserve to live where you grew up. Because you should live wherever BlackRock tells you to live. That is absolute bullshit. But getting to his decline, if you look on his YouTube, he's got 7 million subscribers rather, which is not a small thing. So looking at that, you would say, well, he's got a, but we all know based on the new changes on YouTube, if you look at his views, that's really the tall telling views. I don't think he has a video in the last 6 months with 1 million views. Not one. And now all he does is spend his time attacking people, which it leads me to think like he criticizes socialism, but it seems like he's acting like one all the way. All the people that are more prominent, that are just surpassed him completely, are the people he's attacking. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, all they have surpassed him. And speaking of Megyn Kelly, it speaks to him on his disloyalty and his lack of gratitude. She mentioned when she was in AmFest, which was a big debacle that he created by going after Candace Tucker and Megyn Kelly, he essentially called them all out and even called Megyn Kelly a coward for not denouncing Candace Owens. And of course, his whole riffs, it's all about Israel. That's one of the reasons why I stopped watching as well. It was 5 minutes of the show, and then it would be Gaza bad, Israel good, and he would just ran off from there. He just wouldn't talk about, the things that interest us as Americans, the things that you want him to talk about, the economy. He'll touch on them, but his main emphasis was Israel. And that's essentially, he's denouncing anybody who is criticizing Israel. And that circles back to my intro. What happened to facts don't care about your feelings? It's really, and this is a separate topic, all the infighting and all the bickering and arguing that's happening over Israel. I got nothing against Israel. I'm not anti-Semitic. I don't even know a Jew. So like when people say, oh, they're anti-Semitic, but man, how many Jews do you fucking know to be anti-Semitic to begin with? I don't even know one. So for us to spend the majority of our time discussing issues related to another country, to me, is preposterous. To me, it's a waste of time. To me, we need to be discussing all the issues that are happening here. The fraud in Minnesota, the millions of illegal immigrants that we got to remove, all the cultural issues that that are happening, education. There's so many things we'll be discussing that we could be touching on, but yet we're talking about Israel. We're bickering about Israel. We're wasting our time with that. That's what I'm saying. Israel, whatever their purpose is, as our allies, it is what it is. But to make them front and center in this country, it's just absolute bullshit. Now, should people be protected? Like the Bondi Beach shooting that people are targeting Jews, that should not be happening at all. To no group of people. Not Jews shouldn't be special. No group of people should be targeted based on based on who they are and what their ethnicity is. No group of people should be targeted like that. That's something that it goes without saying. Nobody. Black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, whatever. Asian, not Chinese, Asian, whatever. So when you have a guy that is just shilling for the interest of a foreign nation, how do you want people not to tune into you, not to criticize you, not to call you a fraud? And that's essentially the rift that he has created when he called all these people out. He made it about himself because he opened up and then he threw that grenade pin and then everything became about everybody reacting to him. And I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked. The disloyalty and lack of gratitude that he has towards Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly explained it on AmFest that she remembers in an interview with Jack Posobiec that she remembers when nobody knew this fucking guy. And she gave him a chance and she put him on and helped him become the star that he is. Obviously, you got to have talent, but it goes a long way when somebody prominent puts you up and gives you exposure. If she used to put me on somewhere, and do you think that's going to fucking help my views? Of course. So for this guy to come out and say such nonsense like that she's a coward, that to me says that he's bought and paid for by Israel or the Israel lobby. I mean, I don't have any direct proof for that. I'm just making an allegation. But for you to be disloyal to the people who made you what you are, because out of gratitude, you would say, you know what, I disagree with her, but I'm not going to sit there and call her a coward because part of I am where I'm at because she helped me get there. And if somebody like that will help me to get there, and I'm Cuban American, and for some reason I start shilling for the Cuban American lobby, you still got to have some form of gratitude. And even Tucker had to respond to him. Like, he made it all about himself. And that's the bullshit that this guy is spewing, and that's his downfall. Because he makes everything about himself. He makes everything about like he doesn't have any sort of argumentative, let's talk about the issues. Let me see if I can deconstruct what they're saying. No. He's stuck on his position, and that's where he's at. And the played out arguments. Essentially, if you don't agree with him, you're anti-Semitic. And this reminds me of the whole, like the BLM, and when you criticize minorities, that you're racist. If you have any sort of form of criticism of any minority, you're racist. If you had any sort of whatever criticism there is, you just get slapped with a label. And that's essentially what he's doing now. Any sort of criticism of Israel, you're a Nazi. Shut up, like Tucker Carlson, shut up, cattle, you're a Nazi. Give us money for our little preferred country. That's exactly what Tucker said in one of his podcasts. And that's just the facts. And I guess facts do care about his feelings. This guy's extremely butthurt that a lot of people are just jumping off the whole Israel bandwagon. People are starting to wake up that they're somewhat manipulating into wars that serve no purpose for the interests of the United States. And he is extremely butthurt about that. And he doesn't like it. And he's denouncing anybody who speaks out against that as a Nazi, as anti-Semitic. And it's just ridiculousness. But with everything, hopefully people can see the light. I really would like unity for the sake of the upcoming elections, because people like that, we shouldn't lose Congress because we're having these silly debates about Israel. And we shouldn't be going to war, and we shouldn't be giving the communists, the democratic socialists, giving them an edge in the elections because you're shitting for a specific interest and you're butthurt about people criticizing your beloved homeland. But I'll leave you with that. Draw your own conclusions. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.